Hello and welcome to marketing91.com. Let's start with understanding organizational behavior, or OB. By definition, organizational behavior is the study and application of knowledge about how people, as individuals and as groups, act within organizations. Goals of OB are: describe behavior. OB helps managers describe and communicate aspects of human behavior in a common and consistent manner. Understand behavior. It helps managers understand and deal with employees in a better manner. Predict behavior. It helps managers identify productive and unproductive employees. Control behavior. OB influences behavior and motivates in a manner that is beneficial to everyone in the organization. Challenges of OB are: globalization, improving quality and productivity, improving people skills, stimulating innovation and change, coping with temporariness, working in networked organizations, work-life balance, and creating a positive work environment. Moving on, the next topic is on cross-cultural dynamics. Managers working on foreign assignments have to interact with bosses, peers, and subordinates from different cultural backgrounds. Their challenge is to understand these geographic, cultural, and religious differences and change their management style accordingly. Employees from different national cultures vary on 5 dimensions, which are power distance, uncertainty avoidance, individualism, masculinity, and long-term orientation. The first dimension is power distance. It is the degree to which people from one country accept that power in institutions and organizations is distributed unequally. Cultures with high power distance have large inequalities of power and wealth, while cultures with low power distance have more equality and opportunity. For instance, on the Hofstede scale, Saudi Arabia has a power distance index of 80, representing a large gap between the wealthy and the poor, while Austria has a lower power distance index of 11, indicating a smaller gap. The next dimension is uncertainty avoidance. It is the degree to which members of a culture feel threatened by risky or unknown situations. Cultures high on uncertainty introduce laws and controls, while cultures low on uncertainty accept ambiguity, take greater risks and challenges, and are less rule-oriented. For instance, on the Hofstede scale, Germany has a high uncertainty avoidance score of 65 compared to countries like Singapore at 8 and Denmark at 23. German society relies more on rules, laws, and regulations. Next dimension is individualism. It is the degree to which people prefer to act as individuals and not as members of groups and strongly believe in individual rights. On the other hand, collectivism is the degree to which people expect others in their groups to protect and look after them. Employees high on individualism frequently change jobs. For instance, on the Hofstede scale, Germany can be considered individualistic with a relatively high score of 67 compared to a country like Guatemala with a score of 6 and having strong collectivism. The fourth dimension is masculinity. It is the degree to which people from a culture view men and women as equals. In cultures high on masculinity, there is emphasis on traditional masculine roles such as power, control, and challenges. On the other hand, in cultures low on masculinity, there is an emphasis on caring for women and good quality of life. For instance, on the Hofstede scale, Japan shows relatively high masculinity with a score of 95, whereas Sweden shows relatively low masculinity and high femininity with a score of 5. The last dimension is long-term orientation. Cultures with a long-term orientation focus on future, thrift, and persistence, while cultures with a short-term orientation focus more on the past and present. For instance, on the Hofstede scale, China has the highest long-term orientation score of 118, which means that it is very pragmatic culture, whereas Nigeria has a score of only 16. Now let's understand organizational culture and organizational climate. By definition, organizational culture is the set of assumptions, beliefs, values, and norms that are shared by an organization's members. Organizational climate is the shared perceptions organizational members have about their organization and the work environment. Key measures to promote ethical behavior among employees are: top management as role models, code of ethics, seminars, workshops, and training programs, reward and punishment, and proactive mechanisms to report unethical behavior. Individual and group behavior in an organization are an outcome of three variables. Individual level variables, which are the inherent characteristics of people that influence their behavior when they enter an organization. Characteristics are age, gender, abilities, perception, learning, motivation, individual decision making, and personality characteristics such as emotionality, values, and attitudes. Group level variables are the sum of individual behaviors as individual behavior affects group behavior. Factors include group norms, cohesiveness, group size, communication patterns, power, and politics. And lastly, organization system level variables that are the sum of group behaviors within an organization. Variables include organizational policies and practices with regards to selection, training and development, performance appraisal, and organizational culture. Moving on, the SOBC model explains the process of behavior. S stands for situation or stimulus, O stands for organism, B stands for behavior, and C stands for consequences. Situation or stimulus includes the immediate stimulus, physical environment, and socio-cultural environment. Organism includes the physical, psychological, and social aspects of a human being. Behavior includes both overt, that is, visible actions, and covert, that is, thought process behaviors. Consequences can be both overt and covert. Positive consequences increase the likelihood of repetition of behavior, whereas negative consequences reduce it. Models of organizational behavior are frameworks for explaining and managing the behavior of people in organizations. OB models can be classified into four categories: autocratic, custodial, supportive, and collegial. Let's understand each of these models in detail. The first model is the autocratic model. In this model, managerial approach towards employees is dictatorial in nature. Managers' use of power is at the heart of this model. Employees are supervised strictly and closely, which generates insecurity, frustration, and aggression among them. Drawback of the model is that it is driven by organizational goals with little concern for human cost involved. The next model is the custodial model. In this model, focus on improving working conditions and satisfying employees' security needs. Organizations' economic resources are at the heart of this model. It increases overall satisfaction and contentment of employees but not their productivity. Drawback of the model is that employees' benefits are decided by managers without employee consultation. In the supportive model, focus on satisfying employees' social and psychological needs to make them more productive. Leadership is at the heart of this model. Its advantage is that it works best when employees are self-motivated in an organization that uses sophisticated technology. The drawback is that the model is ineffective in less developed countries where people are driven by low-order needs. The last is the collegial model, where focus is on teamwork for realizing organizational goals. Partnership is at the heart of this model, and employees are considered partners in accomplishing organizational goals. The model focuses on empowerment of employees and control through self-discipline. Its advantage is that it is suitable for organizations that have employees with high maturity and are driven by the need for self-actualization. Thank you.